That was aggressive.
I know. Hello and welcome back, everyone. This is Automation for the People Part 2. We had a lovely break and I'll get up for the next presentation that we have, which is going to be absolutely amazing. We have Ken Fulton, my good friend and mentor for testing. And on that note, I will hand straight over.
Cheers, Chris.
On that lovely compliment.
Thank you so much. I'm going red right now. All right, just a tiny small fraction about me, because I've done these before. So you can have a look at videos if you want to get bored by me. Just a tiny bit about me. I work for a company called Code Computer Love. I'm the test lead over there, and I manage the entire test department, where we look after multiple different teams. On top of that, I also work on my own team. So I'm not just sat in a corner signing off holidays, things like that. I actually do hands-on testing most of the time while I'm over there as well. A bit of background on me is that I've done 13 years of testing experience. I've done front-end testing, back-end testing, API testing, automation testing over them 13 years. I'm not a specialist in anything. I am an all-rounder that I can look after many different things if I need to as well. This is going to be a basic introduction into automation from my point of view. This is not me saying I'm an automation expert. I'm not. I pick things up as I go along and I try and incorporate them into what I do in my day-to-day job. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about the basics of automation from what I've seen over the past 13 years. I'm going to talk a little bit about test pyramid as well. If no one's heard about that, I'll have a little bit of a chat about that. People can ask questions as we go along as well. We're going to talk about a bit of TDD. If no one's heard about TDD, I'll go into more information about that. And then I'm going to do a demo of some free software called Cypress IO. It's a really good tool for beginners. It's written in its own language and it's easy to pick up as well. So anyone can do that. And best thing is it's free. So if you work for a software delivery company, you can bring this on board. They don't have to panic about paying out £1,000 for massive suites. You could just get this up and running and it plugs into virtually anything. Really nice little tool as well. So that's that. Next slide, please, Chris. All right, so in terms of automation, you know, when you get into actual testing itself, you'll see that a lot of the time you are spent doing quite a lot of regression testing. What we want to try and do is trying to cut down that regression testing as much as we can do. By doing that, we work with our developers to come up with some scenarios based around what we can automate to make our lives a little bit easier. I tend to use this nice little system right now that what we've got in front of us. We talk about whether it's a common scenario. If it is, automate it. You know, let's get it done. Automate it, get it out of the way. If the functionality changes often, then you've got to talk about why functionality is changing all the time. That's a separate conversation from automation, but if it doesn't change often, automate it. Why not? Then what we've got to talk about is if the functionality does change often, is it quick and easy to change the tests? If it is, change the test. That's fine. Once you change the tests, automate it. And if it's not, do manual exploratory testing. This is just a basic example of what we can actually do with automation. We can look into it and we can look at how things work constantly. If you're working with a legacy system, probably about 90% of the time, it's going to work the same way it's worked for the past like several years. It's never going to change that much. Automate as much as you can do. And that leads me into my next slide, Chris. So it leads me into this thing called the test pyramid. There's two different types of test pyramid. One's called the anti-test pyramid. The other one's called the test pyramid. As you can see, one's like an ice cream cone. The other one's like a little nice pyramid with cloud on top. And I'll break these down for you really simply. You've got some companies that will want to do, that'll be heavily invested in QAs. And we're talking about dozens upon dozens of QAs constantly doing the same tasks over and over again, writing test scripts, reading from test script, making sure the system works fine. On top of that, you might have a massive layer of UI tests. I'll talk a little bit more about UI tests in the next slide in a minute. UI tests, you do not want to have a massive amount of UI tests. It's very negative to have that, but it's good to have a nice slimline version of it going across your entire site. Integration means when unit tests actually fit together to show that the actual code's doing as it should do when it interacts with something else. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. And then you could have some companies that'll have a very small amount of unit tests, which is, it's bonkers. If you have a company that's got small amounts of unit tests compared to UI tests, pack your bags, get the hell out of there. Don't work with them. That's an awful way to think about it. Chris, next slide, please. So I'll go through each one of these steps as well. So the way we look at how we want to do automation is we want to have unit tests as the most amount of tests possible. This is because it tests every single thing on a code level. You look at every single part of it. Someone writes a bit of code, it's unit level. You write unit tests for that. Make sure it's the correct thing, it does it properly. You move into integration tests. This means that unit tests fit in together. And we do that by using some things called stubs and drivers. Stubs and drivers actually, it fakes out responses you get from a system to prove that your unit tests do work. So we like to have a nice set of integration tests as well. Now with UI tests, this is what I'm going to do. Cypress is a UI system. Oh, well, I'll go back. I've used Cypress as a UI system. But some people can use it as different things if they want. I think it can plug into API testing as well. I think it does something with Postman. Not got a chance to do that. As I said before, I'm not an expert on automation. This is just my experience. But with UI tests, we want to try and keep them as small as possible. The reason for this is that UI tests are very brittle. If you are running UI tests against as an example, an internet site that has a very slow connection, they'll fail for the wrong reasons. What we want UI tests to do is actually fail for the right reasons. And in the demo that I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you the failing for the right reasons and how we got around that as well. At the very top of this pyramid, what you've got is the manual bubble. So you'll have all the automated tests in a pyramid, unit tests, heavy, integration tests, connecting everything together, UI tests, making sure regression end-to-end and smoke tests across the site works as it should do. And then you'll have your manual side of it for you to pick up other tasks based around exploratory testing, looking more into how certain things act and work and how you can improve them. And we want to have this as very small. We don't want to be testing all the time. We want to get upfront. We want to be building out how we're going to test things in the future as well. So this is the test pyramid. I can send these slides off to people in the future if they want to have a look at them as well. Chris, you want to go on the next one? So that was the test pyramid. That's a very overview. There's loads of things you can read online about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about TDD before we go into the demo as well. This is a little cartoon that I found a few years back. And what this is saying is that TDD is that you write something, it fails, and you write the code to fix it. So these two robots are talking about it, and he's just saying, we've not completed the bridge, but we want to make sure the bridge works. So drive your car off the bridge. The guy's not happy with that. Obviously, no one wants to drive off that, but that's the way tests work. You're going to run something automatically, and the next step's going to fail. Chris, do you want to go to the next one? So this is a basic example of Gherkin syntax using a given when then scenario. This is talking about a bit of a login situation. This is very basic, by the way. So you're on a login page, you're going to enter the correct login details, and then the application is going to log you in. So what will happen is that the developer will take that bit of code, they'll do a bit of automation on it, and then they'll run it. Next slide, Chris. And it'll go green. However, the rest of the tests are going to fail because we've not wrote any code to that to make sure it does the correct thing that it's supposed to. So the developer will then pick it up and they'll do the next section. Chris? Next section's all done. It's done green. We're all happy with that. And then the final step will fail. Then they'll fix that. And then there you go. It passes because they fixed that. This is test-driven development. From an agile test point of view, the way we're trying to move right now is that as a tester, as a QA, we want to work mostly up front to be able to get these type of scenarios down of how an application, a function, anything like that is actually supposed to going to work. Once we've got that in place, the developer will go off and write unit tests based on this. You can use this if you want to do UI tests, but for the demo I'm going to do, we're not going to include this right now, but it's good to understand that TDD is a valuable skill that anyone can have to try and drive this forward. Next one, Chris. All right, so I'm going to do a demo now. This demo's probably going to waffle on a little bit, but I'm going to try and break it down as much as I can do, but ask questions if you want, and we'll pick that up at the end of this as well. So two of the tools I use for this, I use, oh, okay, Chris, I've not finished. Cheers, buddy. So two of the tools I use for this right now, I'm going to use Cypress iOS IO. This is a free tool. You can download it anytime. And the best thing about this is they keep doing updates for it, and it keeps getting better. It's evolved really so much over the past like 3 years that I've been involved in it as well. So really good tool to have. On the other side is Notepad++. This seems very basic, but from a point of view of seeing your code there without errors in it, it's perfect to have there and, you know, showing you that. The only thing that I know that will probably be able to replicate this even better is Visual Studios. You can get a free version of that, or you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get a copy of it yourself. You don't want that. These two are perfect, cheap examples, and they go hand in hand with each other. These are really good. So from my example, what I'm going to show you today, I'm going to show you how to set up a test within Cypress. I'm going to run through a test, and I'm going to show you quite a few failures that can happen. And I'll show you what we look at within the code to try and get these automated, basically. So I'm going to do that. Go ahead, Chris, you can cut me off now if you want. Chris, you've disabled share screen, by the way, mate.
It should be good to go.
All right, let me give that another go. All right, so Chris, at any time, just keep an eye on this because sometimes it doesn't swap windows over for me.
Yep, will do.
First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you Cypress. All right, so this is Cypress. This is really basic, you know, very simple. You know, you want to start off, you want to drag a project in there. Now, it sounds a bit daunting, drag your project in here or just select it manually. Sounds terrifying. Actually, it's not. So what I'm going to do is, can you see my screen still? This is my desktop.
Yep, we can see your screen.
Can you see my desktop?
Yep.
All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a new folder on my desktop. Ignore all the crap on my desktop because I just put loads of stuff on there and I just never go back to it. So I'm going to do test Cypress 1. So I've got a new folder just set up there. It's test Cypress 1. I'm going to go back into Cypress here, and I'm going to click on select manually. I'm going to try and find this on the desktop. Where's my desktop? I can't find you. There you are. And I've set it up as test Cypress 1. Now I'm going to select this folder. Once I do this, this is the best thing. This is a blank folder. There's nothing in there. It's empty. When I click on this, Cypress goes off and it imports quite a lot of examples of what you can do with their system.
Okay. Sorry to, okay, I think we can see your desktop with Cypress, but I don't think we saw the folder.
You don't think you saw my folder right there? So let me. So, God, I hate doing stuff like this. So what didn't you see, Chris?
So we didn't see the folder pop up for you to select.
All right. So it's going to be a bit of a nightmare because it's actually probably unseeable because it's a weird box. So what I did do then, I clicked on this, drag your project here, select manually, and what it does your Windows pop up. Now with the Windows pop up, you go through your files and you find the one that you've just set up. Mine was just Cypress Test 1. Once I clicked on Cypress Test 1, what it did is it actually updated it and imported everything I needed to do to be able to start writing tests. and it gives you a big load of examples that you can do. Can you all see this?
Yeah, we can see it.
You can see this. All right, so I'm going to click on actionspecs.js, and it will run a automation that's been set up by Cypress. Don't worry about this. I'm just going to show you what it does, and then I'm going to run through a basic test with you all. So we click on this, and it will pull up it's set to Google Chrome right now, and it will start loading everything up. And it will run through each one of the sections right now. So as you can see, it's
showing you a test window, Ken.
It's not showing the
test runner. No,
I hate stuff like this.
I think you're just sharing the just that one screen, that one window. Sorry.
It's all right. I'll sort this one. You know, one of those ones. Is that better?
Yeah, that's the one.
Is that the one? Cheers, Dean. All right, so I'm just going to rerun this one again. So I've just run this one. What it does, it'll actually show you over here, you know, all the things that it's doing, clicking, changing things, you know, selecting things on the page. And this is what all of these are right now. This is just a basic to show you what they've set up. I'm going to go through how you can actually write tests yourselves. So let me just can this off. Chris, can you, I don't know what's going on, so can you let me know when I do things, what it's showing on the page?
Yeah, will do.
All right, so I've closed out. Oh, okay, yeah, it's closed down the screen sharing thing. Oh God, this is a nightmare. Wait there. This is so fun. So I'm going to share. Can I share you? Can I share multiple things? I should be able to. Oh no, can't. I'll share you as well. All right. There we go. We should be all back, and I should be able to, if I click on back. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see the Notepad++.
That's what we want. All right, that's fine. All right, so ignore the Cypress test one. That was just giving you an example of if you put a blank file into this, it'll pre-populate everything with everything you want to do, which is great. That's what we want to do. We don't want any messing around with like Visual Studios or, you know, IntelliJ project where you've got to, you know, set pages up and do things like that. This is very much type your code and it reads from it line at a time, and I'll show you how it works right now. So what I've already done, I've already set up a test, and I'm going to go through these one at a time. So I'll show you the final thing of what we're going to do. I'm going to try. Wait there. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm going to pause you. How do I pause this? Do. Right, I'm just going to pause that, and I'm going to share something with you. I'm going to share this. All right. All right. So can you see this page? This is the actual Google
Yep.
running through Cypress. You can all see
we
that.
can see it. Yep.
You know, it'd be so much easier if you could just see the pages that I'm on. It's a mare, man. All right, so I'm going to run this one. This is a basic test, and all we're doing, we're just going to the meetup page for QABC, and we're just going to confirm that it is actually displaying something. You know, we can see that, we can read it. So it's running through 10 seconds through. It's found something. It's clicked on something. I'll run through each one of these steps as well as we go along, so you can understand what we're going to do. So it's waiting for the page to load. It takes its time, and there you go. It's passed. Great. It's passed. 21 seconds. So during that 21 seconds, it's gone to Google. It's done a search. It's found the actual page that we're looking for. It's clicked on it, and it's verified something is on the page that proves that this is the right page. Really good. So I've been told that I've got 10 minutes left before I get cut off. So we might have to cut this short in a minute and then re-roll it again, and then we'll do another recording. Sorry, it's one of those things. Shit happens. We'll deal with that as we go along. So Chris, just give me a shout when we get to like 2 minutes. We'll drop out. We'll restart it. Okay.
No worries.
All right. So let's go back to our Cypress test. So let's run the first test that we've got, and I'll go through the code with this as we go along as well. So the first test that we've got, what we want to do is We just want to load up Google. We just want to go to the URL, and there you go. Pass the test, you know, first test, google.co.uk. It's there, it's shown. You can see that. Bit of code behind this is test one. So we've got our function on here. We're just describing what we're trying to do, which is go to the QA meetup page. It is a function, which is what we're trying to do. And we're just going to say we want to hit the homepage of QABC. We know that. What we're doing with this section here is that we're actually saying to Cypress itself, Cypress uses abbreviation, so sci.visit will just be go to this area. And that's what you use for all of the different functions within here, all the different calls is sci dot whatever you want to do. And that's basically the first step, is just sci go to here. You put in your URL, including the HTML, the HTTPS, and it shows straight away. It's as simple as that, really is. So let me just run this for you. Let me just see what the first fail is. All right, yeah, that's fine. So that's the first one. Let's go there. The next one that we want to do is that we want to click on an element. So let me pull up. Can you see this Google page I'm on right now?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what we want to do in here, we actually want to go to QABC. Want to go in here. Not as simple as doing that. Really not. In fact, no, sorry, I'm going to apologize for this one. I really cocked up on that one then. I'm going to go back a little step. Only because if you have a look when we run this test, it should be running. Is it running?
Yeah, it's running, Ken.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Cheers, Chris. So with what happens with Cypress is that it sets everything up without cookies or sessions being involved in it. So what it's done is it's brought up this cookie thing right now. So the only way to get rid of the cookie thing is by clicking agree. So we can expect the elements on this, and Cypress lets you look at the web page as much as you want as well. Let's try that again because it's a bit of a nightmare sometimes. What it's done is it's come up with this section here. This is what it is. This is what deals with that agree button, which is this class name. Class name JYFHYD. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to try and get rid of this, and the best way to get rid of it is just click on it, move it out the way. So we're going to have to write another test for that one. So we've got the next test, which is I'm going to show you failing, and that's the test fail one, and I'll go through this why it's failing as well. So we'll go back to our tests, test fail. Yeah, it's failed. We're a piece of shit. It failed. Why is it failed? We don't know why. If you have a look at the code, what we've done is Cypress.get. So with Cypress, we're actually getting something from the elements, and the elements we're going to do is a class name. In Cypress, they use class names as hashtags, as these dots. So a class name would be a dot or a full stop, whatever you want to call it, and an ID would be a hashtag. From that, what we want to do is find the class name, and then we want to click on it. Looking from this error right now, what we can see is that there's multiple class names for this. So it's like, all right, multiple class names. Let's have a look at that one. How do we deal with multiple class names? You're all dying to know about this. So let's have a quick look inside the code. We'll go to agree. Let me just play. Yeah, there we go. That's better. We've got a class name here. This is the class name, and it's saying that there's multiple versions of this. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to try and find in the code where it is. So we'll do a little bit of a search on that one. We'll try and find it, and it's come up with 5 versions of it. So we know there's multiple class names of the same name. So what we want to do is we want to try and find which one our class name is. And there's quite a lot. So 5. So the first one is that one. Second one is this one. Third one is this one. I don't know where that one's gone. There's quite a lot. So these are, we're just looking for class names on this. So these 3 don't count as class names. This one's a class, as you can see. It's connected to a class equals. And the other one is a class name as well. and that's not a class name. So we've got a couple of class names in there, so we need to actually change that to actually say which class name do we want. So we've got a little bit of code for that as well. So the bit of code that we've got is this. What we're doing with this piece of code is, can you see this, by the way?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, all right. So with this piece of code, we're telling Cypress to get this class name. However, with this EQ1, we're actually telling it to get the second class name that's showing. Instead of have you looked the failed one that we've got before, we're just telling it to find a class name and click it. Cypress doesn't understand that. Any type of automation UI front end doesn't understand that. It's saying you want a class name, but there's multiple versions. Which one are you talking about? Otherwise, we're just going to blow up and fail it. And that is what's happened with that failure. So with this one, we're saying, well, we don't want class name 1, we want class name 2. If people don't know about the way code works out, or the way things get set, it always goes 1 is 0, 2 is 1, 3 is 2, so on and so forth. So your number 1 is 0, and I know our number 2 is 1. And with that, we're just getting a second class name, and we're just doing a click on it. So what we'll do now, we'll go back to our test. Let me just shut you down. We'll go back to our test, and we're going to run this one with selecting the correct class name. Should work. That's clicked it. That's clicked it. That's clicked it. There you go. So it's a good thing. This is one of the things that always confuses you, is that, oh, I've never seen that before. That's good. But it's passed. How weird. Okay. It has passed. I don't know about this. I told you I'm not an automation expert, but we'll figure these out as we go along as well. But it's shown us that, it's actually gone through and it's actually showed up correctly of what it should be. So it's gone through, it's found a class name, it's picked out the correct class name, it clicked on it, and it's shown us what this page is. This is what we're sat on right now. All right, so does that make sense so far?
If you are unsure of anything, please put it into the chat. But yeah, so all good so far.
Yeah, that's fine. Call out or send a message, Chris, shout out if people don't understand. But when you start using this system, it gets a lot better. So all right, so our first one has worked fine. We've got rid of the little pop-up that says, do you want to have these cookies? Do you agree to how this system works? Yeah, we do. There we go. That's fine. So we're going to move on to the next section. So we're going to move on to the next failure. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick search in the Google box. So right now in Google, you got this lovely little box right here, and we want to look for QABC. For us, simple, QABC. Enter. There we go. It's brought that up. If we try and run this test right now, this failure, it's not going to work as we want it to work, and I'll show you why. There you go. What we've basically done is just clicked in the box and we've just sent through QABC. The way Google works right now is that you can't actually click this button right here. This search button doesn't work. And this is one of the things that I wrecked my head about today. It was just like, why would you have a box where you just couldn't click on it? Very inaccessible, bit weird. So I had to work out a little bit of way around this as well. So I found out that if this is right, we're talking to Cypress, telling it to get a class name of this, and then we're typing in QABC, and that works fine. But we wanted to continue a little bit more as well. So what we're going to do is, for this one, we've done the same thing. Cypress, get the class name, type in QABC. However, with these lovely little brackets there, we put enter in, and the actual system presses enter afterwards. Fucking easy, really good. Love that. But I only found that out today because a lot of systems have a separate enter button. So it's one of the things, you know, I'm still learning. I'm not an expert, I keep saying this, but you learn as you go along. So we're going to go back and we're going to run the next part of this test. So I think it's this one. Let's see. Hopefully it's this one. Here we go. Let's get rid of that. QABC, press enter, and it's come up with the next page. It's come up with the search results page, which is what we want. Great. That's what we want to see. Nope. We don't want to see mostly cloudy. So yeah, this has all come up fine. This is what we want to see. So that's the first pattern. So the next type of failure that I did get is an issue with this. So what I want to do, I want to click on this and I want to be able to go into QABC. Don't care about this one. Don't care about that. Well, I don't want to click on these ones. Don't want to click on these ones. None of these I want to click on. I just want to go for the first one in the queue. Click on it. We're done. So this is where the next failure came in. So with the next failure, what it was is we find the class name, which is great. We found the class name and we're going to click on it. But that's going to blow up for us. And let's see why it blows up. There you go. Same as before. This one has got multiple class names the same. So on this page, this, so on and so forth, all the way down the page, have the same class names. What a nightmare. So what we want to do, we want to tell it to just have one class name. As before, you want to select one class name, you want to click something within that. So yeah, this is basically just telling you what it is. So for that one, if we go back to our tests, we're telling Cypress to get the class name of all of them. We're asking it to select the first one. And then within that, we're asking it to find another class name. And then we're clicking it. So I'll just show you how that looks. So if I go inspect, inspect. As you can see, it's got multiple different class names on this as well. So it'll just go through and it'll just click the class names that you want. So what we've done is, there's the first class name. Now, if you have a look at you, there's 13 of them on this page. And if you have a look through, they'll scroll through all of them like that. So we want that one. However, internally inside that, we actually want, no, in fact, sorry, I do apologize, we want this one. And this one, there's 11 versions of them. So each one of these is one. And within those ones, there's an actual class name. So what we're doing is we're saying, get this class name. Within that class name, find this class name and then click on it. But because you're asking for the first one, it's looking at the first one on the list. It's looking in the class name within there and then it's clicking on it. All right, so I've only got a few minutes left, but Chris, shall we just pause it for the time being and then can everyone just log back in?
Yeah, actually got 2 minutes left. So if we're going to stop it at that nice little point, yeah. And then again, I apologize everyone. If we're going to take another quick 5-minute break because this video needs to sort of render a download, and then we'll jump on again.
Take a 5-minute break. The next part's not going to take hours. I'm going to be talking about 5 more minutes and then questions.
Go again. Any questions when we come back on? Yeah, please chuck them in the chat and we'll get them answered for you. This is so professional.
You know, cool. It does that. It's the first time in 2 years. Don't worry about it, mate.
Exactly. Cool. We'll catch you in about 1920. Yeah, catch you about 1925. Yeah. Cool. See you in a little bit.
See you in a bit. Bye.